Across the country, NFL fans and players are still in shock this evening after Damar Hamlin, a safety for the Buffalo Bills, collapsed during last night's game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Medical teams having to perform CPR and giving Hamlin oxygen on the field, fighting to save his life as he lied there motionless on the field for almost 10 minutes. LEX 18's Michael Burke is live right now outside the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, where Hamlin is currently hospitalized. Michael.
Good evening, Larry. As you mentioned, millions were stunned watching the Monday Night Football game at Paycor Stadium between the Bengals and Bills after Buffalo's defensive back Damar Hamlin suffered from cardiac arrest on the field. Now everyone is holding their collective breath, hoping for any indication of some good news here. Very few teams across the NFL have fans who are as loyal and as dedicated as the Buffalo Bills. It's why many are here today outside the University of Cincinnati Medical Center.
Damar and all the Bills are such a backbone to our city, and it makes so many people happy.
It's why so many were beyond saddened when 24-year-old Damar Hamlin went into cardiac arrest on the field last night after making a tackle early in a game against the Bengals. Medical personnel needed about 10 minutes to resuscitate. Now he's here at the UC Med Center's intensive care unit in critical condition. His prognosis isn't yet known. At least it hasn't been shared. For those who think they've seen it all before, last night was an awakening.
What made this so difficult is this is someone doing their job in a way that is so normal. You know, we see injuries all the time. We see players come up and go down on injuries all the time, but we don't see what we saw.
The game was suspended, perhaps never to be resumed. We know it won't be this week. And fans of both teams set aside the competition and turned rather to compassion for the player and for one another.
And from the beginning of the game to the end of the game, Cincinnati's been a great city. I have nothing bad to say, just all love.
It was crazy how everybody came together. I've never seen the place you didn't know there was one team, other team, who's this, who's that. You didn't know who was from anywhere.
Now people from almost everywhere will wait and hope to see if a young man in the physical prime of his life will one day be able to walk out of the level 1 trauma unit inside here.
There's a level of humanity to this story, and that's what I'm going to most remember. But hopefully we're going to have better news that will give me an even better memory too.
And we're back live in Cincinnati outside the UC Medical Center where Buffalo Bills fans, many of them have been hanging around here all day. There's a makeshift memorial as well. That team, I've went to 2 games there in my life. That team means so much to that city, and Hamlin will certainly be on their minds for a very long time. Live in Cincinnati, I'm Michael Burke, LEX 18 News. Let's send it back to you in the studio.
Michael, thank you for that. Well, as he mentioned just then, injuries are commonplace in all sports, and especially in football. But usually they're broken bones, ligament or muscle tears, or head injuries. Cardiac events such as this one are rare in football. Well, earlier today, I spoke with Dr. Carl Welke. He's a congenital cardiac and thoracic surgeon. He told me a good part of this conversation needs to focus on the medical advances that may have saved Hamlin's life.
I think, unfortunately, we're a reactionary society, aren't we? And so our improvements come from tragedies. And the degree of training these people have is exceedingly high. Their attention to what is going on the field, even when there aren't incidences happening, just their general surveillance is very high. And so they're actively looking for these kinds of things. There are defibrillators, which is something used to shock the heart, present at all of these stadiums in most places where people are playing high-level sports.
Oh, more of my interview with Dr. Welke tonight at 11, including why this cardiac event Monday night on the football field in Cincinnati should not be compared with the heart issues that have affected athletes in other sports. That's coming up tonight on LEX 18 News at 11.
Still, they can trigger memories. Communities across the country are continuing to think about and pray for Buffalo Bills player Damar Hamlin. When former LEX 18 sports director and now radio host Alan Cutler saw Hamlin's collapse, he said it took him right back to what may have been the toughest night of his career. LEX 18's Rachel Richardson spoke with Alan Cutler about the memories that came back during last night's game.
Alan Cutler has been working in sports for some time. He was formerly the host of the Cincinnati Bengals radio network, LEX 18's former sports director, and now is a sports radio host. Last night, he settled in to watch the Bengals play the Buffalo Bills.
It was hyped, legitimately so, as the best Monday night game of the year, and it should have been outside the obvious tragic situation.
Today on his show, Cutler recapped what he and thousands of fans experienced during last night's game. He admits at first he thought Damar Hamlin's collapse might have been a concussion.
And then all of a sudden I hear something like, and he just collapsed. And I did what everybody else did. I'm staring at the TV set and I'm quickly going, oh my gosh.
As his concern for Hamlin grew, this moment felt all too familiar. It brought Cutler back to 1999.
The second I got scared, I started thinking about Jon Stewart. And this is not about me, but it was by far the worst day in television I ever had.
18-year-old Jon Stewart, who had signed to play basketball at the University of Kentucky, collapsed during a high school basketball game and died. While Hamlin is hospitalized in critical condition, Cutler says that the support of both young men's families and from the community reminded him of the night Stewart passed away.
This would have been a really good, wonderful, feel-good story, and then this happens. And so last night, the second I thought of Jon Stewart, I got chills. I started shaking a little bit. Not uncontrollably, but I started shaking because it brought back the memory of that night.
Cutler admits that he didn't know much about Hamlin before last night, about his philanthropy or his values, but he saw how much he is devoted to his family, just like Stewart was. He says humanity dominated in the sports world last night.
Humanity prevailed over business last night. And it should always be that way, and to say it's always been that way would be a flat-out lie. And so I found that actually kind of comforting while you're thinking about this young man. But if you ask me for a theme, it was family, just family.
Communities across the country are continuing to keep Hamlin in their thoughts and prayers. In Lexington, Rachel Richardson, LEX 18 News.